Chega De Saudade by Antonio Carlos Jobim and Vinicius de Moraes is one of my favorite songs in the real book. It has a gorgeous melody, the chords are transcendent, and the song is just really easy to enjoy. But it's actually a relatively complicated piece of music, and it's got a lot of neat examples of music theory concepts sounding at their best. So I'd like to dive into the harmony of this song with you and talk about how we can wrap our heads around the harmonic twists and turns in this piece, so you can use the techniques in your own music and play nice solos over the changes. Some of the vocabulary I use in this video might be new to you, and it also might be going too fast for people who haven't spent much time learning jazz. So if you're feeling a little lost, you can use this video as a chance to find out more about what's out there and get a better idea of what terms to look up and concepts to study. This song takes up 2 pages in the real book. Let's start with page 1. First, we'll look at this from a bird's eye view, kind of macro perspective, and figure out what key or keys we're in. Right away you can see that the key signature has 1 flat in it, which means we're in F major or D minor, and in the case of this song, we are indeed in D minor. There are plenty of chords here that don't fit in D minor, like this E7 in measure 3, or this B minor 7 flat 5 over here, but there are lots of spots where we are clearly in D minor. I colored all the spots where we're in the D minor zone green, so it would be easy to see. Now to look a little closer at that D minor stuff, you'll see that we start out with this D minor 7 chord on the first 2 measures, and then here we have a 2-5-1 in D minor, then another 2-5-1 in D minor, and then some stuff that doesn't fit in D minor, which happens to be a 2-5-1 to A minor. In fact, we're going to see a lot of A minor stuff on this page. So I'll label all of that A minor stuff in orange here. You might recall that the key of A minor normally has no sharps or flats, so it might seem weird that an E7 would be in the key of A minor. The E7 is actually really from A harmonic minor, which has a G sharp in it, so the E7, which is spelled E, G sharp, B, D, fits nicely as the 5-7 chord of A harmonic minor, but it also happens to resolve really well to A minor 7, which is the 1 chord in A natural minor. So as a general rule, throughout all music, you'll often see 5-7 resolving to 1 minor. It's a very common way to get to the 1 minor 7 chord, and it sounds great. Alright, moving on, we have a B flat major 7, which is the flat 6 major 7 chord in the key of D minor. Then the A7 flat 9, which is the 5 chord of D minor, and then, hooray, we are back at D minor 7 again. Everything's working out. And again, we see the E7, which doesn't fit in D minor, but is happily the 5 chord in A minor. And like I said a moment ago, the E7 would really like to go to A minor, but here a tricky thing happens that is very common in Brazilian jazz and that I love a ton. Instead of resolving to A minor, it turns into an E minor 7 flat 5 chord and takes on a whole new function as the 2 in a 2-5-1 to D minor. I'd like you to hear that. So here's E7. This chord would love to go to A minor, but instead it does this crazy stuff. That is so sick. Holy taxi! Let's do that over again. I'm gonna play in A minor, then I'll play the E7 chord, turn it into E minor 7 flat 5, and then do that 2-5-1 to D minor. So nice. When a 5-7 chord doesn't go where you'd expect, that's called a deceptive resolution. And I love being deceived, baby. So now we've got this 2-5-1 to D minor, and then right when you think you get to chill for a second, the D minor turns into a D7 flat 9. Now as I said earlier, a dominant 7 like this wants to resolve down a 5th to its minor chord. And it does! The D7 flat 9 goes right on down to G minor, which is a perfect 5th below. So here we are in G minor, which I labeled as red. But that's just a quick detour, and we're back on the D minor highway with this A7, which is the 5/7 for D minor. Then the D minor, hanging out for 2 bars. Then we go to this B minor 7 flat 5, which fits in A minor, but what's really happening to my ear is we're shifting from D natural minor to D Dorian here. See, the B minor 7 flat 5 includes a B, D, F, A. And the D, F, A from that chord spells a D minor triad. And then when you put the B back in there, you pair a B with a D minor triad, and that's just like a D minor 6 chord, or in other words, a D minor with its natural 6 added to it. Since Dorian is just minor with a natural 6, we're up to our bibs in Dorian during this chord. So then there's this B flat minor 6, which is sort of just a chromatic passing chord that moves nicely back to D minor, because it has a B flat, which is just a chromatic passing note below the B in the B minor 7 flat 5, and it also has a D flat, which is the note a half step below the D in the upcoming D minor chord that we're headed towards. So it's kind of like glue. It's got a little bit of something to take you from the B minor 7 flat 5 and a little bit to pull you into the D minor. So here's what that sounds like. So now we've gotten through page 1. Let's jump into page 2, which is a far more complex page. You can see the key signature here is 2 sharps. That puts us in D major now, instead of D minor. I labeled all the spots that are in the key of D in green again, even though it's major now instead of minor. That's a fair amount of D, but let's see what else is here. We get to enjoy our new D major vibe for about 1 second before we go to this B7 sharp 5, which is a very strong 5/7 chord in E minor. And yes, it goes to E minor like a normal daddy. So we are clearly looking at the key of E minor here, and guess what? There's a lot of E minor on this page, so I made all of that purple. Next up, we go back to D major with this nice A7, which is the 5/7 of D, but the song's like, "Hey kids, let's get in the van and go to Grandma's house in D major." We're driving along on the A7 highway, but then, oops, everybody has to pee. So we just stop at this D diminished 7 for a second and piss. Then we go on our way to D major. This intermittent D diminished 7 toilet that interrupts the natural resolution of the A7 is so cool. You can do this with any major 7 chord. Just stick a parallel diminished 7 version before it and you get this sexy sound. So we're in D major, and then we go to this F sharp minor 7, which is the 3 minor 7 chord in D. So we're still in D, and then uh-oh, we've got another weird in-between chromatic passing chord here with the F diminished 7. And then we're at E minor 7, which we'd expect to be in the key of E minor, but it's actually technically E Dorian because there's a C sharp in the melody over this chord. See, the C sharp is the natural 6 of E minor, and Dorian is a minor scale with a natural 6, as I mentioned earlier. So we've got some overt Dorian vibes happening here. Remember that fun thing when a 5/7 chord becomes a minor 7 flat 5, and then we do the 2-5-1? Well, that happens again here. We have this E7, which would like to go to A minor, and it's like, everyone, let's get in the van, we're going to go to Grandma A minor's house this time. But this time we stop to pee at minor 7 flat 5 town, and get a little lost after the stop. So by the time we finally make it to Grandma A's house, she's ready to go to bed and wants us to get out of her house, so she becomes a 5/7 chord and is like, go back to D. So we kind of jump back in the van from the A7 back to our home in D major with this D major 7 chord here. And Grandma is alone, which is what she prefers. Now we've been looking at these colors and talking about big chunks of keys, but sometimes when you're playing over complex chords like these, the keys change so fast that it is inefficient to think about the keys. It's better sometimes to just think about the isolated chords, and that is often the case in this next section. See, we have D major going to its relative minor B minor 7, so that's normal. But then the B minor quickly becomes Dorian because this E7 chord pops up, which has a G sharp in it, which is the natural 6 of the B minor chord that preceded it. So it makes sense to hang out in B world for a bit and get your Dorian popping with that G sharp. Oh yeah. Then we go to F sharp 7, which is just there to act as the 5/7 of B minor. So it pulls us to B natural minor, but don't get too cozy. As soon as we get to B minor, we have to throw whatever else we were doing down a half step as we get this chromatic passing B flat minor 7 chord that takes us to a 2-5-1 into the key of G major. Oh, change the channel. Now it's G minor. Oh shit, it's actually F sharp minor. No, it's the 5 of E minor. Ah, crap. It goes to E7 instead. Ah, now it's E minor 7 and A7. Okay, looking like a 2-5-1 to D is coming, but no! It's an F sharp minor 7 instead, which is just the 2 of E, so maybe we are setting up a 2-5-1 from F sharp minor B7 to E, but nope, it's going to take a detour at E7, and then it actually goes to E minor, but that E minor is actually part of a 2-5-1 to D, and then we're done. See that rapid paced ending there? It's just too inefficient to be thinking so hard about keys. It's better during sections like those to practice making melodies using the chord tones in each chord, and also learn the melody of the actual tune well enough to bring pieces of it into that moment. So that's a bit of a look at how all these chords relate to each other functionally. But what's the point of all this analysis? It's just a good tune. If we think so hard and nitpick it, won't we kind of miss the point? Well, to me, learning about this theory stuff has actually helped me take the stuff that I like, that I hear in other music, and integrate it into my own writing faster. So by breaking it down this way, I've learned to get way more intimate with the DNA of complex music like this. If you want to hear a couple brilliant recordings of this particular song, I'd recommend João Gilberto's version first. He's basically the trailblazer who defined the bossa nova style. And then after that, I'd check out Yo-Yo Ma and Rosa Passos' version on their album Obrigado Brazil. It's just great music, and I hope this helps you appreciate things about it that you might not have before. Everybody's trying